Welcome to It Begins With Us, the podcast about domestic violence abuse. It is our mission to help anyone in a domestic violence situation. We started this podcast
as a safe space for survivors to tell their stories.
Completely confidential.
We can disguise your voice.
You can be off camera, and we're here to listen. Let's get started. Welcome back to It Begins With Us. We are on episode 11, and we have a special guest today.
This is my beautiful friend Amber. She has an awesome story. It's really impressive because what she's gone through it's crazy, and her personality and just who she is. She's so happy you'd never know if you didn't hear the story. It's really incredible. So I'm excited for her to share it with us.
The toughest people usually are.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, my story goes there's so many chapters to it. My most recent one that kind of connected Sydney and I. So I am 7 years out of a very, very horrible situation. I lived in California. I met this man who I just fell head over heels for. I had a daughter from being a teenage mom. She was like 4 or 5 when we got together. We worked together. We kind of were drifted in and out of each other's lives. And then we started dating seriously and moved in together. This was the whole thing. We were married for 8 years, almost 9 years, when my life completely changed. I was at work and he called me and told me that my daughter, my oldest daughter, who is now 18, all this time had passed, hadn't come home from school. And I said, well, she's 18. I have younger siblings that have, done things, and there's really nothing we can do. We can't call law enforcement. She's 18. There's really nothing you can do. Yeah. So we'll wait it out. And then she just never came home, and which is very unlike her. She's really responsible. And so I tried reaching out to her. I tried social media. I tried all of her friends. I was up all night, just worried, sick mom, right? Mm-hmm. The next morning, I'm getting my youngest, who was in 3rd grade at the time, off to school. And I had a baby, she's a toddler. She was 2. And I'm trying to get everybody off to school, and I'm still trying to reach out to friends because she's still definitely not like her to not come home all night. Yeah. This is now really scary, but I'm trying to maintain normal for the littles, right?
Right.
We were reaching out on social media to people, and finally her best friend, she had a friend from kindergarten, these inseparable sisters to this day, her mom reached out to me and said, hey, I just want you to know she is here. She is safe. You need to come and see her, but you need to come alone. And just earth-shattering, right?
Right.
So my one's off to school, and I look at my husband, who helped me raise this child, Yeah. And I'm like, what happened? Did something happen? I'm thinking, typical stepdad, stepkid, sure. There was a fight, you didn't let me go to my friend's house, what happened, and he just looks at me and he goes, I swear it was only one time.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what are we talking about here, And he's like, well, she's 18 now, And you can't think. You can't process anything in this moment, And so, I'm trying to talk to him, and he's on this weird emotional roller coaster. I'm supposed to be leaving for work, So about 45 minutes after I'm supposed to be at work, my work knows my child didn't come home last night, and now I haven't shown up for work, Mm-hmm. So they're calling. He answers the phone, and he's like, look, we're in the middle of a family emergency right now. She's not coming in today. Mm-hmm. And he proceeds to rip the phone out of the wall because, everybody is calling me now.
Right.
And we just had this emotional standoff where it was I was going from being so angry to somewhere inside of me, it was trying to console this man that I've loved for 10 years.
Yeah, but
you know?
But the mama bear in you.
Yeah, like there's this conflict,
yeah, you
right?
talking about it right now, like, I want to find this man and beat him.
Yeah.
Like, the mama bear inside me, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I like, after a couple of hours, I mean, he physically assaulted me. He pushed me. He pulled a gun on me. He said, I knew this day was coming, and I'm prepared to make whatever decision I need to make sure I don't go to jail.
Did he ever assault you before this instance?
Not physically like that. I mean, we had fights. We screaming and yelling and throwing things, but he had never physically put his hands on me. I've been in physical relationships like that before. Said child's biological father was like that. I've, been black and blue and things like that. But with this man, no. I thought I had it. I was safe. Everything was okay. Like, perception-wise, I guess, right? So no, he had never been physical with me before. And I finally just looked at him and I said, I can't continue to do this with you. My child is out there and she needs me. I can't do this anymore, And he said, okay. And he let me walk out the door. I honestly, it was such a slow motion feeling walking out with my 2-year-old in my arms, and I was like, is he really going to let me get to the car? Like, I honestly, he's already pulled a gun on me. I thought for sure I was going to get shot in the back right then and there, walking to my car. Like, there was no way he was actually letting me leave. So I immediately hauled ass and went across town to where she was. It was about a 10-minute drive. And we
Which
just,
I'm sure felt
like an eternity,
forever,
an eternity. Yeah. And there was an inner turmoil going on too, because my youngest was at school, which was walking distance from our home. And I was like,
what do I do?
Yeah. Is he going to go get her?
Yeah.
I mean, cause he could go pick her up and it's a normal day. Nobody knows what's going on, So I get to where my oldest was, and we just cry and we hold each other, and the very first thing I said to her is, it all ends now. This is all ending now. Like, I didn't know. So I did end up going and getting my daughter from school. I pulled her out of school early. We went back to said friend's house, and we kind of just sat there and decompressed for a little bit. And I was like, I've got to do something, and I don't know what the next step is, Your
life literally just flipped upside down.
It turns out, though, that it wasn't just one time. This had been going on since she was like 7.
Oh my God.
Till she was 18.
Wow.
Yeah. Right under my nose, in my home. And there I wanted you to, there was like, we lived in a very small town and people talk, right? And we lived in a really small town, and I know there were people saying, how do you not know? How do you not know this is going on? He was really well loved. He was that guy. Everybody in the community knew him. He worked at a restaurant. He was like their head cook. Like, everybody knew him and everybody wanted to be his friend. And like, he was that guy. Like, and he was good at it, So I gathered up all my kids, and my mom lived really close to where said friend lived, and I show up and my dad's there. He's retired, and it's like a Wednesday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Why are you all here? You know? And there is nothing like that hug from a dad, right? When you can just collapse and let it all out. And my mom happened to call, mother intuition maybe, and she knew something was going on. And so she came home, and we went to the local sheriff's office to start this process, get this ball rolling. What do we need to do? So again, small town, we're like in this little like substation sheriff's office thing, right? Which I could literally walk out the door and see my home with this man. Okay. Like it's like right there. So we're in there and she's being interviewed by detectives, and all of a sudden I'm there with my mom and some of like the victim resources, people are there. And all of a sudden all these cops just start running out of the building, and I'm like really confused. And one of the sheriffs knew him, went to school with him, like knew us,
Right. Small town.
And I was like, what's going on? And she goes, there's a house fire.
My gosh.
He barricaded himself in the home and burnt it to the ground.
With him in it.
With himself inside. The unfortunate in all of this is first responders still have to do their job.
Sure.
They still
But he
have a job to do.
definitely deserved to be burned alive.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. 100%. If anybody on this planet deserved to be burnt alive, it would be him.
But I want to give you praise. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please. You're fine.
I know a lot of girls, especially I came out with this story publicly in July or August about me being molested as a child. My mom hit me and told me to shut up and not talk about it. I had so many girls contact me and tell me that their mom or their parents or their family told them to be quiet. So I'm very I appreciate you. I praise you for
Appreciate that.
being there for your daughter.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, she's my ride or die. Like still, like we were in California when all this happened, and we moved out here like 7 years ago, shortly after everything happened. And she's out here with me, and she's my ride or die. We do everything together. We're best friends, So she's been through a lot, obviously, and she's dealing with it in her own way. We've had a lot of people like, oh, you need to go to therapy, or you need to do this, like telling her what she needs to do. And what I have told people is, you don't understand, like it's what I like to call the ripple effect, right? So there was this impact, and me and like her grandparents and aunts and uncles, we're right here. She's out here because she's lived it. She's lived it for 10 years.
Yeah.
She's free now. Like her prison is over. She's free now. So if she doesn't want to do therapy, if she wants to process it in her own way, in her own time, let her. Just let her be, like it doesn't have to be like, okay, I went to therapy and I feel better. Like she just feels better because she's not living that awful life anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the first responders did have to pull him out. They took him. He was hospitalized for 30 days. And I remember during this whole process, like we're working with, probation officers, and we're working with detectives. And there was this one detective that was like always our point of contact. Whenever he had questions, he would come and talk to me. And I remember being really angry one day because he wasn't technically arrested, right? I'm like, why? Like he could just walk out of that hospital,
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, I'm telling you right now, he's not walking anywhere anytime soon. Like he had 3rd and 4th degree burns all over his body. He
Well
had
deserved.
I would have went up there to visit him and be all like, oh, listen here, mother. Well, you want to feel it?
So there actually is kind of a funny story, which Sid knows this about me. So my now husband, an amazing gem of a man, okay, actually knew this person, this ex of mine. They worked together. My now husband was a friend of our family. Like he's been to my kids' birthday parties, like all that stuff, right? So his brother was part of the sheriff's department for our town at that time. And when they transported him to the hospital, they had to like big city, like think like Salt Lake or something, like they had to flight him out, right?
Okay. Yeah.
They had to send some of their law enforcement to sit on him, be outside the door. They sent my now husband's brother. Was the one that was sitting outside. And they knew each other too, right?
Yeah.
In a small town, right?
Right.
This horrible man knew that was the cop that was sitting out there. And he kept telling everybody, I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him. And he said, I have nothing to say to you. I am here to do my job. I have nothing to say to him. And laughed when they would come in to change his gauzes because he would scream in pain.
Good.
And he just smiled
I would've been
and
extra
scroll
right
on his
here.
phone, and it was a joy to hear.
That was
Yeah.
like an instant karma.
Instant
Because
karma.
sometimes I feel like
100%.
karma doesn't come for a long time. You know, I'm
Yeah.
glad.
This was instant karma. Yeah. So he was up there for 30 days. The day they released him, Sheriff's Department was there to take him into custody. He had some hearings. The district attorney that was representing us, so they got him he ended up having like 45 felony charges against him.
Wow.
Between everything that they were able to account for with my daughter's, recant of things. Like she was able to be very specific about when things happened. So between all of those counts and then everything that happened with us the day that I found out, the corporal
Pulling
punishment
this
to a
gun,
wife, raising a gun, like all of those things that happened. They had him at, like I said, like 45 felonies. The district attorney originally went for like 80 years. His attorney said, how about 10? And the district attorney called me and said, we aren't even going to negotiate this.
Right.
He goes, we really don't want to have to go to trial. We don't want you to have to testify. We don't want your daughter to have to testify. That's traumatic enough, right?
Yeah.
So they actually ended up settling on, I want to say I was just talking with Jacob about it the other day. I want to say they ended up settling on like 47 years in prison.
Good.
So he was absolutely delusional. I remember the probation officer telling me that she met with him and he told the probation officer that he had 100% belief that his wife was going to wait for him no matter how long this took, and that I was going to wait for him and I will be there for him. And I was just dumbfounded by it. I couldn't understand how he would, if you knew me at all, you know what I mean? And maybe he thought he had that much control over us, because there's a lot of things I've come to realize hindsight, right? Like what really was our dynamic, and it was a very submissive role for me, and again, there was no abuse, but it was very much he decided, you know what, I just don't feel like working anymore. So he took like a year off and I had to be the breadwinner. I had to provide for our family of 5, and I was okay with that, so there's a lot of things that you realize, hindsight. So he is where he needs to be. He is in a state prison in California. He will be up for a parole hearing in like 10 years. So I'm all part of like all the victim witness stuff, so they'll notify us of all that stuff. But so I actually started seeing my husband now through this process, which probably seems kind of odd, going through something so traumatic, but it made me reassess relationships to begin with, right?
Sure.
Going who you could trust, who you can't trust, because that is just earth-shattering to your trust in anybody and humans to begin with. And my husband, like I said, we were friends and he felt safe because of that law enforcement attachment, so I knew he was a safe place, right? And he was just someone I could talk to. He was someone I could talk to about things that wasn't this, because I spent most of my days talking to, attorneys and judges and, law enforcement. Like, it just was so draining. And so it was just nice to have like a safe space that I didn't have to be that person. And they didn't ask, again, small town, people see you and they're, oh, how are you doing? Like, how are you holding up? And like, I don't want it anymore. So we started dating through that. We got married once we moved out here, like just 3 years ago. But he's amazing. He's been the absolute patient of a man with, me, because I there's trauma, there's, you have knee-jerk reactions to a lot of things, and there's trauma for the kids. I mean, we literally lost everything.
Yeah.
We had the clothes on our back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had nothing. We could salvage nothing from that home. There was nothing.
Except for the worst thing that had to be salvaged. The guy.
That was the only thing we didn't want to rescue.
Right.
It got rescued,
I'm sure
unfortunately.
he's living the hell that he deserves to be living.
I really hope so. Really hope so. Unfortunately, they do have facilities in California that most people in there are of like mind, let's say. So the facility that they have him at is considered like a special facility. It's for people like him. It's for people that work with law enforcement, those types of things. So maybe not as hellish as I wish it could be, but hopefully it is. And hopefully, I hope he lives with it every day.
I hope they didn't bandage his wounds. Hope they just let him suffer.
Let him rot.
But I'm honestly glad like he got this over in California and not here in Idaho, because of all the things we keep seeing.
It's crazy what I've been seeing here. It is absolutely crazy what I've seen here. And I see even cases from lots of places where you don't get nearly as many years. And I think it was because my daughter she was so brave. And like, cause I've seen all the documentation from the district attorney. I've seen all of the notes. I've seen all of the evidence, I've seen everything. I needed to I needed to see it, she was able to recount like specific dates. She was able to say, he told me if I did this, that we were going to do this. And some of those things, like we did like family trips, or we like did something together.
And now it's probably all connecting together.
Yes, and like the feeling of like that was a like reward, that was like something that he gave her in response to something. Like everything is so tarnished from your life. Everything. Your marriage, your vows. He was that guy when we got married. He said like a special vow to her about how I'm going to protect you and I'm here for you, and not a dry eye in the room. Gave her a little charm necklace, like that's what he did. And he manipulated so many people. It's not even money. Like it's just shocking,
And then it probably gets you thinking, who else did this happen to before me? Who haven't came forward, or
the people that came forward after our story came out.
Yeah.
So then his sister came to me and said, this happened to me. By the way, our dad did that to him. Oh. So do you see? So like, and it's like, where were you people 10 years ago when I was going to walk down the aisle with this person? Like, make it make sense. You would never, you're just going to be my friend. Like, you're my friend, right? You're his sister. You're my friend. We hang out. You're going to be my friend for 10 years.
Right.
Not
say anything
hard.
until like
that would be hard.
We took the bullet. We had to take the fall. We had to lose everything. And now everybody else feels okay to say something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, by the way, he also assaulted this girl at a party once. Like, where were you people? Like, these are people that were my friends. You were part of my circle. And nobody said anything. Yeah. So like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that alone, like I said, it makes you rethink your trust in people. It makes you rethink like who's really your friend, who's really showing up for you. You know, like I mean, I lost family over this. I've lost friends over this. Like, just because I there was a point in my life where I just felt like I couldn't separate anything, you know?
Yeah.
And it, you know, it just got difficult. And that's why we eventually moved, because again, it's that small town thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the paper. Everybody knows your name. Everybody knows your face, you know?
That's how it is with, I don't know if I should talk about this or not, but the BYU baseball player from Blackfoot.
Yeah.
We know that family very personally.
Yeah.
You know, because we live there. We're kind of within that sports.
Well, there's
you know.
there's another one too last week as well.
Oh yeah, I grew up with his.
Yeah.
That whole
Yeah.
family. I grew up with all
but that, you know, that kid, people, you know, are backing him up for what he did because he comes from a good family.
yeah.
He plays for BYU. I mean, he had, you know, MLB scouts waiting for him to finish out his senior year so he can go. Like, because of all of this, we need to be kind to him because he's right.
Wow.
He's from the good family in Blackfoot, the
It
one
was
that
just
everybody
an
knows.
accident.
Yeah,
like it
I
must
know.
have been a misunderstanding. I've heard that a bunch of times
Yeah.
about that case.
Yes, and
It
you
must
know,
have been.
it's so many freaking excuses for this kid, and when we found out about it, I'm still shocked by it to this day, just because they have been that family. Like, it would never happen
Right. Yeah.
to them. And, you know, with him being a pitcher and my son playing baseball and being a pitcher, my son loved to watch him when he played at Blackfoot pitch.
Yeah.
And,
He's
he's
a role model.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a cool kid.
Yeah.
So, you know, when that happened with him, that had to bring in a conversation that my husband had to have with our 12-year-old boy. Like, you do dumb shit, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, this kid has ruined his life. Even though, who knows, he may not get the time he deserves.
Right.
You know? He had his whole life freaking ahead of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the rumor has it, you know, that, you know, some family knew of this, you know, addiction that he had, but we sweep it under the rug because he's a good kid. And look what happened. Look where he's at, you know? And unfortunately, it was somebody within his family. But just like you were saying with your husband, everybody loved that guy because he was that guy.
He was that guy.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, too, good thing it happened in California because the amount of shit that's coming out right now with all these men
Yeah.
is insane to
Every
me.
day.
Every freaking
Literally, there's
day.
a new one.
Yeah.
Every day.
And you're shocked by some, but not by
Sure.
others,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
I think that says like a lot about like the culture that I don't want to say like that we're creating, but like just that people are creating, because it's just more victims that are like
Coming
feeling
out.
comfortable
Yeah.
to come out. And I think that that's
Yeah.
probably good.
It probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So I don't know. This question might be more for your daughter than you.
No.
But what made her come out when she did? Did she just barely turn 18, or
She had just barely turned 18, so let me think. So her birthday's in February, and yeah, this happened in April of that year after. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I remember she went to school, and the friend where she was at that night, you know, again, best friends, like sisters, she knew all along what was going on. You confide in your friends, right?
right?
And something had happened. I don't know if like he was pressuring her to do something she didn't want to do, or there was some kind of conflict about that. And she went to school and was telling her friend about it. And her friend just said, "We're done. we're done with this.
Yeah.
You're coming home with me,
Yeah.
and this we're done.
Yeah.
You know, so really it was her friend that supported her and had her back, and she's a blessing, and she still goes and sees her every year. They still get together for a girls trip once a year, and she's still in California, but yeah, they talk all the time, and her family was a blessing in all of this. They really were. And you know, I say there was a lot of like negativity in our community, but there was a lot of positive too. I mean, like, you have to think, like, we lost everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, you lost the life that you had thought was going to be the rest of your life.
Forever. Mm-hmm.
And then not just that, but all of your physical stuff, all your belongings and your home. Like where you go to sleep, where it's your safe place.
Your sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
We lost everything. And then, you know, to sit there and have to look at like my 2-year-old and my 3rd grader and tell them, like,
we don't have anything.
We can't go home.
Yeah.
We can't go home.
But thank God that situation ended when it did, because
you had 2 other ones.
You had 2 other ones.
They were both interviewed by like Child Protective Services and by the sheriffs and things like that. And from what they found, there was no findings of anything.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that my oldest really does pride herself on, is that she helped stop that cycle. She really did. You know, now that we know that it was a generational thing, that she was able to help stop that cycle.
And it repeats itself. I mean, I've talked about it. The person that molested me, you know, one of his children molested me as well. And I asked, like, how did this 7-year-old know to do that to me and my brother? It comes from, it just repeats itself. And if you don't talk about it, if you don't let people know who these people are, it's just going to keep happening again.
And then, we have to say something. We have to speak up, because I don't care if she was 7 or 10 or 12 or whatever age she decided to come to me, the same results were going to happen. You know, it's something I beat myself up about a lot. You know, as a mom, like, I carry a lot of guilt. I carry a lot of trauma from that. Just like, I can still every day catch myself thinking, how did I not know? What did I miss? Like, my brain is still trying to plug in the piece that I missed, you know, every day. And it'll be 7 years this year. It'll be 10 years this year. It'll be 10 years since everything happened this April. And like, I still every day deal with that and what I put my children through and the loss that they've gone through. You know, but at the same time, how would I have known? Like, he swept me off my feet, literally, you know, a knight in shining armor, you know, was everything I wanted him to be, you know? So it's tough. It's tough. It's a lot of struggle for me, honestly. But, you know, I like Sid said, I try to stay positive. I try to enjoy every day to its fullest, just because you don't know. You don't know what's around that corner, you know, like losing everything like that and having to rebuild myself back up from nothing, you know.
Well, and I'm sure your daughter too thinks the way you reacted, I'm trying to figure out how to put this, the way you reacted when she told you, I can probably guarantee she thinks sometimes, I wish I could have told my mom
I wish I would have said something sooner.
Because this is the response
that I needed.
That I needed and that she was going to give me.
Yeah, because it was probably scary to her. She didn't know how to go.
Well, and he was probably telling her.
Oh, there was lots of threats.
You know?
All your stereotypical ones. Your mom's going to hate you. You're going to ruin this family. I'll kill your mom. Like, all, I mean, like all the, I think it was all in the paperwork. Yeah, I saw it all. But yeah, all of your stereotypical threats were there. Absolutely, they were. So I'm sure she was terrified. You know, he had all of us under a thumb, and I didn't realize it, honestly. He was doing very good at controlling this like little bubble. Months before this happened, there was actually talks of us moving across the state from California to Pennsylvania because that's where his mom lived. And I really wasn't on board with it. And I remember talking with my mom about it. And again, that mother intuition thing, right, kicks in. And she was like, I would just worry if something happened and you didn't have a support system there. You know, so it's like all these things, like they came together beautifully. The timing was when it was supposed to happen, I guess, you know. But yeah, so I mean, she's amazing. She's an absolute trooper. She's doing good. She's doing really good. She's strong. She really is. And my others, they're doing well. I mean, they're 17 and 12 now. So the youngest, she has no memory of him or anything. She turned 3 shortly after, all like in the middle of all of this. So my now husband is all that she knows. Yeah, that's all she knows. So
do you plan, if she was to ever ask you why he's where he is at, to
so
be open to her?
My 17-year-old, we had that conversation with her. She knew he was in jail. You know, she knew he had done bad things because she was like 7 when this happened, you know. So she knew he was in jail. She knew he did bad things. She knew he was the reason why we didn't have a house anymore, right? As much as maybe her 7-year-old brain could hold, right?
Right.
I want to say she was in junior high, so just a few years back. And I talked with my oldest daughter first, and I said, look, I feel like she's getting to that point where she's going to either start Googling, right, and looking him up and trying to figure out what actually happened, or, you know, she's going to start trying to reach out to people. Like, I don't know, like she's going to start becoming of that age where she's
curious,
wanting to know what really happened, you know. And I feel like at that age, she was like 14, I felt like she was old enough to fully comprehend right, what we're talking about. So myself and her and my oldest daughter all sat down, and I said, you know, look, we need to have a talk. I want to let you know this is the story. This is what happened. And she was just blown away, you know, like, and she has now come forward and has said that she has vague memories of some physical abuse in the form of like hitting and yelling and things like that from him. She was like, I remember just like sitting and watching TV and like just a smack across the head or across the face would just come out of nowhere. Wasn't even doing anything. I was sitting there watching TV, you know? So she has some memories of that stuff, but she has no memories of anything like that happening, because now that she's a little bit older, like, you know, do you remember anything? And she doesn't have any memories of that. So, but yeah, if my youngest were to ever ask, you know, I feel like that's my duty. Like, I have to. I mean, because again, Google is a free service, you know, like anybody can jump on, and it doesn't take much. You put his name in the city we lived in and it's going to come up, you know, the whole incident. So, you know, I would absolutely share that with her, you know, and just because, and I want them to know that, like, if things are happening, if somebody is ever harming you, let me know, you know, like that's my job. Like, this is how I react, you know, like I handle things, you know, so, they're amazing kids. I'm really blessed right now, and I'm just happy to be where I'm
just
at.
Still shocked. Like, I did not expect your story to go that direction. And
there's lots of twists and turns on that one. Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely a million other rabbit holes I can go down with that story, and you know, other stories, like I was saying with the oldest, her biological father was physically abusive to me at a really young age, and you know, all of it kind of molds
Yeah.
what happens in the next chapter. And I'm just happy to be in a place where I did go to therapy. I did choose therapy after all of this, and was able to kind of work through my stuff and know how to look for what my triggers are, and you know, how to handle my things, and know that I'm not a burden, you know, because I feel like just everything you've been through, and you just like you rely on people. You don't realize when your chips are down like that how much you rely on people, you know, and your support system. And so it was amazing. And I had an absolute amazing solid support system, and I think that was really important for us in our healing process with it.
It definitely helps.
Rather than being told not to talk about it, you know, we were very open, and we talked about a lot of things, and shared a lot of feelings through the whole process. So if anything, almost has made us closer, you know? So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit as moms and like think of how we would react, right? Like I would probably go on a murder rage.
Right. And that's what you think.
Right. But then you're in your situation and you
Like, what do you do?
can't do that. Like you have to be focused on that child at that moment.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything goes away. Everything goes away. And that was that moment when I just looked at him and was like, I can't do this anymore. Like this back and forth. No. There's a child out there that needs her mother. That's me. I need to be there for her. You know? So
unfortunately,
amazing.
like, you know, if him being delusional and saying you're gonna get back with him,
he's still waiting.
there's so
the day he was sentenced, the day they were like, okay, this is it, this is how many years you're getting, he was still like in county. It was before he goes to prison, right?
Yeah.
And I took my divorce papers right over to county, and he was served immediately after being sentenced to 45 years in prison. So no, divorce was immediate. Round of applause for that one. Yeah. It would have been a lot sooner, but the DA was like, look, I'm not telling you what to do, but if we wait, maybe he'll be more cooperative with what we're wanting to get, right?
Yeah.
He's like, but I'm not here to legally advise you of anything. But so that's what we did. So the day he was sentenced, that was the first time my now husband went to court with me, because we were kind of dating through that process. And so
Did you say he's a police officer?
his brother was.
The brother was.
Yeah,
Okay.
his brother is. And so he came with me to court that day, which I think I've told you this story too. They were sitting in the courtroom, and they bring him in, and we could see him like coming up this hallway, and he was very arrogant, like in his stance, right? When he was coming into the courtroom. And he comes around this corner, and sitting on this bench is my dad, my mom, me, and my now husband. And he came around that corner, and he saw us, and everything in him just deflated. Like he knew. He knew it was all over. Like he didn't have a chance, and he just kind of sulked, and he sat in his chair while they read it to him. I didn't have it in me to speak that day. I was literally a ball of tears, and but my mom spoke on our behalf for our family, and he just sat there like with
Wouldn't
his head
even probably
down.
look at her.
No. No, wouldn't even look at her. And she used his words against him. Like, you know, you sat up in front of our entire family and promised to protect her. And you were the person that hurt her the most.
Yeah.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he got all his just desserts. He got his sentencing and a divorce, and knew who his wife moved on with all in one day. So it was amazing.
good for you.
I would have started making out with him like as he was walking by, holding up the middle finger, making out with him.
Yep, exactly. No, it was great.
Man.
It was great. Yeah. So
Wow.
it was fun times. But yeah, no, we're doing good. Everybody's growing, and every day is different, you know.
Your story is absolutely incredible, and it's super
Thanks.
powerful, and you definitely had a guardian angel with you that day.
I did.
Because I would have froze because I kind of freeze, I would have froze and would have been terrified to walk out that door. But at the same time, once I walked out that door, I would have ran.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just ran. But yeah, you had a guardian angel with you the whole time. And
For
you
sure.
and your daughter are absolutely incredible in every single way.
Yeah, good for you. I'm
Blown away.
You know, yeah.
And like,
I'm
if you-
speechless for once.
No, but like you hear the story, right? And you're like, oh my hell. But then like you know her and you get to hang out with her and it's like you
would probably never know.
Never. She's so kind. She's so thoughtful to other people. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's just me ranting because that's my friend.
That's my friend.
That's my friend. I like her. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
you
And
get
I
the
think it
vibe.
does kind of help develop like that caring, nurturing thing too. Maybe, I don't
Sure.
know, going through these situations.
Because you
know?
never want anybody else to go through what you went through.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm just who I am. And everybody be kind and love and all that good stuff, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, you can't let those things define you. I think is really what it comes down to. If I were to walk away from that and be an angry, spiteful person for the rest of my life, who really wins in that situation?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
He still wins.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm not here living my best life, free, enjoying sunshine, you know, and
enjoying your man.
enjoying my man. And I'm gonna enjoy it to the fullest. I'm not gonna let him win. Absolutely not.
So thinking back, for any women that are out there that could be in a situation and that are maybe thinking that something could be wrong, what signs would you look back on, if any?
Again, he was so covert with things. I do remember, some of the things is that he always wanted me to make sure that if I was getting off of work early, if I had a change in plans, that I had to let him know. That it was really important that I let him know if there was a change in my schedule. To this day, I work like clockwork. I'm very set with my routines and what I do. And I was then, I left for work at a certain time. I always came home at a certain time. I, didn't really have like a social life, kind of thing. I was a mom, I had littles at home, So I think that would probably be the biggest thing that I look back on is the, let me know if your schedule is going to change. Are you going to be home early? Those types of things.
Constant questioning.
The constant questioning of where I'm at, when I'm going to be home, those kinds of things. Also, he was now having an amazing husband. He wasn't a very attentive partner. Like, we had a relationship, all the inclusive of that, but he wasn't attentive to my needs. He wasn't attentive to, like, if I was ill, and this is no disrespect to anybody that games, but he was a major gamer addict. He like 24/7 if he could, and like my now husband games maybe 3 times a month, what I mean, like once in a blue moon, but like this was like 24/7. If I'm not at work, I'm doing this. So I don't know if just that disconnect from reality to begin with. Do you think he paid? Did you ever notice, like, did he pay more attention to your daughter's needs more than you, like if she was feeling sick, or he was just disconnected from everybody? Yeah. Interesting. And that's actually a really interesting question. I never really thought about that, but looking back, I would say no. Like, so one of the things with my now husband that we have to like find our way through, I don't want to say struggle with, but find our way through, was he wants to be an attentive partner. He wants to be a attentive father, right? He wants to be that parent, but I won't let him. I take everything on. I handle all the school meetings. I handle all the homework. I handle all the, forms that need to be filled out. I do all this. I make all the decisions.
You're traumatized.
So I'm just going to take all of that on because that's how it always was. I now realize that it's not because I don't want you to. It's just because that's what I was trained to
Right.
do, you know, because if I didn't, then it didn't happen, right?
Right.
Because I couldn't rely on my partner. Like that's, I mean, it's an odd thing, but yeah, like that just, and you don't realize you're in it. You're just surviving. You're just going through those motions. You're just going through that cycle. And then when this happens and everything lays out, you go, oh, well, that's not how a relationship's supposed to go. That's not how love is. That's not what partners do, you know?
Right.
So it's just refinding all of that, you know, and allowing my partner to partner, you know, and be what I need and be my balance, you know? It's tough. It's tough.
I wish. Sorry.
Sorry, no, you go.
I said I wish I like could find the answers to understand somebody that does that to a child. Like, what makes them attracted to a child?
Yeah.
I've asked that question many times throughout this, and someone told me once, it's not meant for us to understand. You know, like it is a sickness that you will
gross.
you could never understand.
Yeah.
You could never begin to understand.
So that's probably why we will never understand.
Yeah, like-
it literally has driven me crazy.
It's hard for me to date younger men than me. So it's so hard to like think that somebody thinks it's
Even
okay to
fathom
touch
that.
Yeah.
to touch a child.
Well, and you're talking, you know, we're talking like 7, 8 when this happened.
Yeah.
So we're talking, yes, definitely
A
a
child.
child.
Yeah.
We're not talking like, oops, she was 17, you know,
Yeah.
like
No, a
we're talking a
child.
child. Yes.
Like, what makes them think like
That's
You know, and to know that I had children with this man
Yeah.
during this process, you know, that hurts a lot. I love my children. I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Right.
But God, that hurts, you know,
Right. Yeah.
knowing that they were conceived throughout all of this madness and nightmare.
Yeah, and you, I'd be like, and I'm in the same bed, sleeping with the same man
Yep.
that was sleeping with my daughter. Like, oh
Yep.
my gosh.
Yep.
So sickening.
I
We'll
seen
never
this-
understand.
I seen this thing on Facebook, and it was like, not all narcissists are abusers, but all abusers are narcissists. And like listening to you, because we talk about like a lot of, I mean, it's all abuse, right? But they have to have like in the courtroom. She said he's cocky. He's got it's all just the same. So it's like
Yeah.
these abusers, they hit women, they do this because it's like, you're weak, dude. Like, you're messing with a little kid because you're so broken
Yeah.
inside that you think
Right.
that,
That's
Yeah.
how you
that
get.
you're gonna
Yeah.
hurt that little you know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just
It's
But
a
they have
power
con-
thing,
yeah,
I think.
is it?
Yeah.
Because they're
Yeah.
so broken inside that
Yeah.
like they're gonna beat me up because it makes them feel better. They're gonna do this to the little kids because it's gonna make them, you know.
Well, and it's obviously something that he grew up with
Generational,
and doing,
yeah.
and it was never caught, or it was caught and just swept under the rug
It caught
and
swept under the
never
rug.
dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this situation probably would have never happened had it been dealt with the moment.
Yeah.
But also, I mean,
It was caught.
he had to know it was wrong because they didn't talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't
Absolutely.
talked about. So he knew
Right.
it was wrong.
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well, they all know it's wrong. That's why they hide.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they hide you getting what you went through. That's why they hid, because they know it's wrong.
And
Yeah,
they tell you,
he
they
knows-
tell you they're sorry because
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know
And they know
Yeah.
they're going to get in trouble, right? Like, they
Right.
know
Whatever.
those things are going to happen
But they're only sorry. Why?
because they got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not something I could ever, like, I have to stop myself from thinking those things because I will never make sense of it. I will never understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Why?
get so angry that you like start to think about it and just wish you were back in that situation, just like want to just kill him?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%, yeah, 100%. I've thought about doing things differently a million times over, but those have outcomes too, right?
Right.
Had I turned the
Yeah.
gun on him, what would that outcome have been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here for my kids, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you have to think that way too. But yeah, I mean, I remember when like my brother found out. Again, he was that guy. My brother and him were really good friends, really good friends, and it broke my brother. Like, I mean, again, that's that ripple effect I talk about. Like, we all had this feeling of like deceit, and you know, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, oh no, I think a million times over going back and, you know, going to the hospital maybe and unplugging a ventilator.
Yeah, I think in those wounds a little.
Any of those things.
Sons of Anarchy, remember?
Exactly.
Wouldn't have gotten caught.
You know, I'm like, what does it take to get like a connection, like in the prison system or something? Like, how could I find out about that and get someone on the inside to take care of it?
Pen pal dating.
Yeah, like I'll find somebody on the inside there. No,
we'll add money to their books.
Seriously. Oh yeah, no, we think about it all the time. Like, you know, again, my now husband, you know, they were friends, and you know, he's just as traumatized by it. Like, you know, that's your friend, that's someone you trusted, you know, and so yeah, it's just this ripple effect, and you know, we're all just getting through it together. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here and I'm like sick. My stomach's it's such a heavy.
There was like 3 or 4 times.
Sorry,
I
know.
Hold my
I don't.
tears.
I didn't. Yeah.
It's good for you.
Yeah. I appreciate it. You know, because. Yeah, you don't realize like what your story could do for someone else. And when Sid was telling me like about the podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But like I got other stories. You can have me back on anytime. I got plenty of other stories.
And I can probably guarantee you this one story is gonna help even one person.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, that would be amazing. You know, and it is. There's resources. There's so many people out there. I mean, we had so many people willing to help us when we went through our stuff. You know, Victim Witness, just everybody. There were so many safe havens, and yeah, there's plenty of people out there willing to help. Yeah.
Obviously, this episode's not going to come out for in a few weeks. You know, I don't know if you could do us the
Maria
the
voice.
honors. The honors. I don't know.
The honors.
Speaking about this topic, tomorrow here in Idaho Falls at 2 p.m., there's going to be a protest against what's going on, you know,
for like all the sex offenders
because they're so like minimal sentencing and stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can clip that and let people know that we're having a protest at 2 p.m.
Is that
tomorrow.
the one at the courthouse?
Yeah.
It is at Bonneville County, yeah. So on Capitol Avenue, 605 North Capitol Avenue in Idaho Falls at 2 p.m. Tomorrow, what is it, Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
You're gonna take your lunch
The 7th.
at 2 o'clock.
And do what?
I don't know. Go to protest.
Oh, okay. Go downtown
Fine,
and be back in 30 minutes.
I won't tell.
I think
Like,
it's a
Amber, I
movement.
think Amber
It
got
needs to
sick.
be done. It needs to be changed.
Absolutely.
Harsher
Penalties.
penalties need to be done so that this can stop, so we can put a stop to this, because people just get a slap on the wrist, they just keep doing it.
And I feel like the victims are getting younger and freaking younger because they know they're going to get away with it.
Yeah.
Have you seen that a lot of them they're getting lewd conduct with a minor? It's not.
Yes.
It's not what it is. They're getting. They caressed them. That's not what happened.
Right.
And it's just.
It's so sickening to me when somebody gets charged for what they did and they can just plead like a lesser
charge.
Like, how is that okay?
Yeah, what do they call them? Writers?
Agreements.
Or
Well,
writers?
they
Or,
send out a writer, but that's like a year.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
no,
nothing.
Yeah.
they just plead to a lesser charge because they're actually saying, oh, I did it, but I did this instead of the actual charge of the actual thing they did.
Yeah.
Just so that the law, you know, can get a conviction.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say, this is just me, I don't want to say that, like, it's the law doing that, because, like, when I went through my stuff, they were going to charge him for like the 3 counts and all of that, and they're like, dude, but you have to testify, like you have to say that. So I think not like a lot of times, but I think a part of it is like they are little kids and they don't want to have them be put up on the stand. So I think like that plays a part in it too.
And I mean, but it's like, it's with any type of thing. Like, it is. Let's say you get a ticket and you can just say, oh, I'll plead guilty if you say I just ran a stop sign or whatever, you know, and it's disgusting. It's with bad crimes, like they do the same thing in order to just get a, yes, I did it.
Yeah.
Well, and not to be like super political about it, but just to like speak from my experience, I think for us, it had a lot to do with the district attorney that was involved on the case. Because there was a plea, so to speak, that came down, and from like the 45 charges, we got it down to like 20 or something like that. But that district attorney made sure he put everything that was as bad as he could in black and white on paper. He said, because in 10, 15 years when he's up for parole, I'm not going to be here. None of these judges are going to be here, you know.
Sure.
So we need to make sure that whoever sees this knows how bad he actually was. So it was a matter of let's not sweep away the bad ones. They were like, we're going to put all the bad ones here and we'll sweep away the little ones that we don't care about. So, I mean, that may have some things to do with it too, on how far they really want to push it.
Right. And it's sad that it literally has to do with the people defending you, because when I went through my case, we had such a good prosecutor. He went through, what is it called? I am so, right now my mind is somewhere else. I can't speak right. But there was a police officer in American Falls that was going through domestic violence, and she didn't know how to go about it, you know, like tell her coworkers. Somebody told her, hey, go to your mom's in Jerome. And, you know, that's a couple hours away, I think. She drove down there to get away from him, and he showed up at her mom's house and shot her. So as the police force in American Falls felt so guilty that they did not help their own. So from that day forward, they like put their foot down on domestic violence. And I was lucky to be that it happened to me there in that county, because they were so like, we're gonna like, what do you call, like, throw the book at them, you know? And so it was going so well until he ran away for 2 years, waited till they got another prosecutor, and that prosecutor didn't do shit. He gave him a slap on the wrist. He was like, no, this is his first offense, and what did you do to cause him to do these things? You know, and he's a changed man. Like, he's going to church, and he goes to my church, and he pays his, 10%, and we're gonna give him another chance. Shows up 9 months later, and he raped a 16-year-old girl. Well, he's 25. Raped a 16-year-old girl. Not lewd conduct. He took her out to the woods and raped her because he deserved to have sex with her for taking her out on a date. And, and nothing happens. Like, he was in jail, I think, a couple months for that. Even after all the charges he was up against with me. And it's just horrible. This state of Idaho is horrible at taking care of those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's scary.
And we really have to make sure, like, we don't want to make this political, but we've got to make sure who we have protecting us.
Yep.
So we got to vote for the right people.
Yep. Absolutely.
We really appreciate you coming.
I appreciate you
telling your story
for
and
sure.
just being so powerful and
yeah.
a good spirit.
I appreciate it. No.
Yeah, it was really nice to meet you.
so good to meet you
Yes,
guys.
thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime. Yeah, I'll come back on anytime.
Yeah, she's excited for the ball, so she'll be there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'm
really fun.
so excited.
Yes.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
so.
we're gonna have a ball.
We are. No pun intended. Okay, a little pun intended.
Little bit.
Little bit of a pun intended. So, no, I appreciate you guys a lot. Yeah.
That was episode 11. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
It Begins With Us is a supporting podcast for 1614 Revival Foundation.
Please leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever possible. That really helps the show reach more people.
You can follow us on social media. The links are in the show notes. Do not hesitate to reach out. See you next time.